Greetings from planet Seattle. This is Electric Elohim's page. And today I want to talk about my struggles with my label, MINDFREAK Recordings, Music, and Filmworks. Now, about 3-4 months ago, I put up a video on YouTube for my followers and subscribers, and I noted in that video about coming back and explaining to you what I've been dealing with Google. For those of you that do not think that the Illuminati isn't real, they in fact are. Secret societies are real. People like Catherine O'Neill, Harry Mancow's show with Sylvia, Marianne, Arizona Wilder, and if I didn't mention it before, Michael Jackson, Paris Jackson, Tila Tequila, Randy Quaid. The list goes on and on. John Todd, over 30-something plus years ago, he was born into the Illuminati and he got saved, became a Christian, and he began to reveal the things about the music industry. And subsequently, after he became a Christian and went around ministering, they were following him, stalking him. Some of the things that I have dealt with them, they're very sick, twisted, and ultimately John Todd disappeared. What I'm going to read to you today is one of the reports that I had ended up filing with the FBI this past January in 2015, January 7, 2015 to be exact, on Google and MySpace. I subsequently, a couple months later, in July of this year of 2015, July 30th, I filed a complaint on Google. Last year, I filed a complaint with the Kirkland Police Department when I was living down there. They had a woman named Jeanette, ironically named after my grandmother, because they deal with familiarity to get in and to get close. I moved, and she followed me all the way up north and tried to break into where I was living. I subsequently contacted the Kirkland Police Department September 3rd of 2014 and September 14th, 2014, and I heard nothing back from them. And I was parked in a safe parking ride program with this woman, and she was very eerie. And anytime I would talk about my problems with the staff members at the church when I was staying in my camper parked there, she would try to sway the conversation. Jeanette would use weird language like, "Oh, you don't like Google, you're not friends with Google," and she would follow me around. And I would leave and disappear, and I would come back and she'd be pacing in front of my camper. She tampered with my camper, all kinds of things. And so I had another situation occur in the month of September of this year, 2015, where an Asian woman kept following me and identified herself with Google, kept harassing me, kept coming by my house. And subsequently, I went to the Seattle Police Department and filed a police report on this woman. And I don't know, they show up, they send operatives to surround me. They tried to put handlers around me, all because of the gifts in my music. This is how Google has worked. They have come up, they have stolen my money, and they have stolen our royalties 4 times. We started a digital service, and where in the music industry, there is online services that you go through to have your music released online in internet stores such as iTunes or Amazon. So we were acquiring contracts such as MediaNet, Juno Download, Ruckers, and everywhere that we went, Google was showing up, and they would bribe these people. We're owed exactly $27,000. We're owed $5,000 from Songcast Music. We're owed money from our last distributor, LabelWorks. They owe us $19,000. And even after getting attorneys at Garby, Schubert, and Bear, last year. We didn't go into litigation. We're still finding our album being illegally sold. We went in and purchased the album ourselves. Subsequently, LabelWorks, and I'll get into this with what I'm going to read, and I'm going to just read what I filed with the police department to you guys, and I'm going to read what they have been doing. And just to note, this year, you know, God is good. I've been struggling a lot with this because, you know, he really has been leading me. Basically, lost my train of thought. Basically, this year, that's what it was, excuse me. June 30th, the weekend of June 30th of this year, KEXP, which is a local college radio station that is ran by the UW, had 20 individuals, and they were on the public access channel on TV. And guess who they were talking about? Google. Google has been taking these 20 artists and these record labels, and they've been stealing their money. They've been running off their artists from the label. They've been coming up and plagiarizing. They plagiarized us. They've opened up 3 rogue labels, one in Mexico, one in Brazil, and one in Tunisia. And they've done this all since last year. And what they've done is they've set up the pages and websites, and for these rogue labels of theirs, MINDFREAK Records, 3 of them in less than a year. And the first one was in Mexico, and that was started up the month that we went into digital dispute with LabelWorks, because Google came up, and we opted out of Google with LabelWorks, and LabelWorks knew the issues with Google, and they turned around and made a deal with Google. Subsequently, LabelWorks, they've been coming over to the United States. LabelWorks is our old distributor, and they're in the UK. So they brokered a deal on YouTube with Google this year, and Google's been having them come over here, paying their way, coming over here, rewarding them for what they have done. And nothing has been done. I contacted, for our label, the IRP office. That's the Intellectual Property Rights Agency for the FBI. July 30th, I told you, of this year. Called them 4 times, never heard anything back. Well, it makes a lot of sense when you look at the history of the music industry and when you look at the secret societies. Basically, we've been just getting the runaround. But these 20 artists, Northwest artists, and labels on KEXP were saying the same things I've been saying about Google, but they're all white, and I'm an African American woman trying to get some help. I contacted attorneys. We've contacted over 40, 50 attorneys. Nobody will represent us. But I said that, and I'm not racist, that it would take white people to yell that Google is stealing from them. And so right now, just to give you a little bit more of an in-depth detail of what I've had to put up with, and again, you know, what these artists and record labels are saying or were saying on KEXP. We tried to contact KEXP repeatedly, and KEXP would not even return a phone call. And KEXP is a little racist. We had to contact them about a copyright infringement issue with playing our music. All of our music is submitted to Washington, D.C. That's how you get your copyright. And it's submitted into the Congress library in Washington, D.C., and you can hear the sound files. Subsequently, Google has tried to roadblock that. So here's the first complaint that I filed this year, and this is what we have dealt with nonstop. And for those in the Christian community who do not think that the Illuminati is real, they are very much real. Here it goes. Excuse me for any typos. So this is what I submitted to the police department, Seattle Police Department, September 4th of this year. I said September 3rd, but I believe it was around the 4th. And this is what I submitted to the IPR agency, which, again, is a part of the FBI. And then I went to the regular FBI in January 7th of 2014 of this year, and this is what I submitted. Now, when I submitted a claim to the IRPR off agency, excuse me, for the FBI, there was an update that I also typed. So I'm going to read you this report, both of them. Here we go. My name is Alonda Stallings. I'm a mixed race black woman who runs a record label called MINDFREAK Recordings, Music and Filmworks out of Seattle. My ordeal started on MySpace when I befriended Russell Smalls from a well-known DJ duo called Fat and Smalls. I was a fan. So for a year, me and Russell Smalls exchanged emails. Not many, but a total of 8 to 9 emails in depth. He seemed to be a true friend. He mentioned hanging out a lot with Jay-Z, Beyonce. A year later, Russell Smalls disappeared from MySpace. He took down his band page, which had 250,000 followers. Shortly after his departure, strange things began to happen to me. Symbols began to show up on my MySpace console when I would log in, like subliminal messages. Images of all-seeing Eye of Horus, King Tut, white creepy smiley faces, pyramids, hieroglyphics, triangles, lots of triangles, bull's eyes, and balloons. These images kept coming for months, so I began to complain to MySpace and they began to retaliate. My account settings for my emails were changed. My blog was blocked and I wasn't allowed to send emails except for a small number of accounts. I tried making my MySpace page private 3 times, only to come back and it was public again. Emails I sent to major and indie labels were blocked and returned to me with delays up to 9 months with a could not send error after 9 months. After 9 months with all the emails returned, I left MySpace for SoundCloud. In May 2011, I sent an email to Alex Jones. In 2012, while our privately hosted website was under construction, I found that after deleting my MySpace account, it had been reposted without permission. At this point, we sent MySpace a takedown notice. Ever since then, we've had business issues with nearly every partnership that we've had in the music industry. Our videos were blocked online. And we'll get into a little bit of detail, you guys, with that. And when I joined Bandcamp, the hit counter was broken and we were not given financial information. Now, we were sending people in, you guys, and I'm stopping right here, to buy the album in Bandcamp. So we sent in numerous people and it was being promoted. But strangely enough, Bandcamp tried to say there was nothing wrong with our counter. And strangely enough, they were trying to say nobody came in to buy anything. In 2010, we joined Songcast Music. They didn't give us sales reports. We were released worldwide, yet we supposedly made no money. In 2013, we got on with Lynx Records and found ourselves blocked from our YouTube account within weeks without any third-party notice. That September, I got a new Android cell phone and was required to sign up for a Gmail account. Now, no, I was not using a Gmail account at that time, and I had an old Gmail account that I was using with my old DJ name, but I had not used that in a number of years because I knew what was going on with YouTube. So we'll get back to reading this. So where was I? Purchase a new, okay. As long as the Android cell phone was connected to the Gmail account, the YouTube account worked, using the same password as it had been originally. At that time, we also signed on with another distributor, LabelWorks. Now I'm going to stop right here. So basically what happened is the summer of 2013 we signed up with Lynx Records. That very same week that we signed up was when, YouTube, Google decided to lock us out of our account on purpose. So about 4 or 5 months later, I had gotten the Android cell phone. And the moment that we got the Android cell phone, as long as the Android was hooked up to the Gmail account, it worked just fine. Ironically speaking, we were using the same passcode to try to get in. And it would basically block us. And that's what I'm getting to here. So back to where I was saying. At that time, we also signed on with another distributor, LabelWorks, in November. In November, actually, it would have been October. It would have been in October of that year, actually, and our album was released in November, guys. I disconnected the Gmail account from the Android when I had only the Gmail account was only used for junk mail. Once I did this, the YouTube account was locked out again. For the next 3 days, I could not log in from any PC, even though I tried a number of public and private terminals. Now, this was after we had disconnected the Gmail account from the Android cell phone. So, Google is being sued by Nasuri Jung law firm, which I contacted last year in 2014, and another law firm out of San Francisco. In San Jose, they are suing Google for privacy issues and cell phone apps malfunctioning. It's been proven as a result of this suit that they can remotely monitor and access cell phones. I believe we are being blocked because Google is trying to force us to sign a contract for the Vivo subscription or take over us and other small independent labels. Google has been known to use bullying tactics against small labels. Helena Lindeval has reported such tactics in The Guardian. YouTube is threatening to block independent music videos on its site unless the labels that own the copyright to those videos sign a template licensing contract for its upcoming music streaming submission service. So there's a reason to believe that YouTube is indeed bullying the independents into accepting a deal that dramatically undervalues the investment indies make in new emerging artists. Side 2. Other issues have included 3 new labels using our name, MINDFREAK Records. We are MINDFREAK Recordings, which appeared in 2014 during a legal dispute with LabelWorks. 2 of them came up in 2014 and then one surfaced up in 2015. They have the same name, similar art design, and focus on dance music, exactly like our label. One is in Brazil and one is in Mexico. These labels were allowed to have channels and have reported thousands of views. We discovered this in the process of taking down our music from stores after we pulled out our contract with LabelWorks. At this time, I also had email accounts shut down, emails go missing, which affected my dispute with LabelWorks, and particularly emails dealing with LabelWorks, Songcast Music, the U.S. Copyright Office, and Google went missing from Hotmail accounts. My attorney set up a Yahoo account, and we were unable to access that. And let's not forget, you guys, Inbox. We believe that Hotmail allowed them to come in. My attitude is, why would a hacker, and I've had accounts hacked, just take out particular emails pertaining to distribution, the U.S. Copyright Office, and Google and MySpace? Usually, if the Russians take a email account, they block it, take the whole email account, and they resell it. So that was what was weird about this, you guys. Our attorneys try to set up a private account. Garby, Schubert, and Bear. Google gained access to that, and they ended up taking out the information with the store information. So here we go. In 2013, also around the time we were in dispute with LabelWorks, it was actually the dispute started in, actually, excuse me, it would have been 2014. So we got to get Alex. He typed this up, but he had some errors in here. Around the time we were in dispute with LabelWorks, we had a copyright that we submitted to the Copyright Office. This was in 2013. So I gotta kind of note that, and he made a mistake. It says in 2000, and it should have been, yeah, in 2013, around the time we were with LabelWorks, we had a copyright that we submitted in January of 2013. At that time, Google purchased 40% of Tumblr. Several months later, in May, we would find that our copyright case had been closed. We corresponded with the Copyright Office through 3 emails. None of those emails, were the Copyright Office was supposed to send out emails to each of the email accounts to let us know that they were going to shut down the copyright process. And what ended up happening is, when we discovered it, we started, well, I'm getting to that in the next part of this letter, started getting runaround. So here we go. After Google bought up Tumblr in 2012, our Tumblr account was locked out. We discovered this around the same time we were filing with the Copyright Office in 2013. After months of waiting, our copyright filing was nearly canceled due to non-response to communications from the Copyright Office. The Copyright Office claimed to have emailed us, but we did not receive the emails. When I contacted the Copyright Office by phone during our filing, the operator claimed we could not file copyright, and this was at the Copyright Office, you guys, copyright on a derived work, even if we held the original copyright. She also questioned whether our work was already in distribution. Even though I hadn't mentioned anything related to it, our copyright was held up until I personally contacted the copyright examiner, John White. Our work went through 3 different examiners, each time alleging some small error, which should have been reported originally. I contacted a former professor, copyright professor of mine, Cynthia Grace, for assistance during this situation. We have been in distribution 5 times. Our latest partner is the 5th. Every single time over 5 years, we have not received a cent. I believe that Google is taking money from sales of our music and bribing people to keep us off the market. Emails relating to all of these distributors, the Copyright Office, Google, and MySpace, are among the emails deleted from our Hotmail account and Yahoo accounts. We tried going to SoundScan to receive sales reports to get evidence, and SoundScan refused me service after I called 4 times and tried to email them. I believe Google asked them not to give us reports. I also asked people to make test purchases of music distributed through LabelWorks, and did not see a sales report. Now, keep in mind, I'm going to stop right here, you guys. We went in, and even after we went through, and so our attorneys, John and Claire at Garby, Schubert, and Bear, they saw album sales. Our account was, we were selling thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars through Labels Works. Our album was going for $16.87, and the lowest price was $9.47. Okay. And every day, nonstop, we were sale after sale after sale after sale, and we were outside the United States. Okay. And they tried to act like we didn't sell any albums whatsoever, but I went in and purchased music. Alex went into some of the stores and purchased music. Our attorneys, John and Claire, went in and purchased some of the music. So what our attorney, John Cressetto, did, because he's the litigation attorney, and we didn't go into litigation, but he would have been the one dealing with the litigation. We signed a split ways waiver with Label Works. Subsequently, what has happened after that thing, a year and a half later, Label Works has been going up for Google and going to our distributors and telling them that we're still under contract, don't release her, and this is what they have been doing. So, just so you guys know that little bit of information there. So let's get back to where we were. Here we go. Didn't see any sales reports from Label Works. Nearly all of the search results relating to our label over the last 5 years have disappeared, particularly in May and June of last year in 2014, when I announced on my Twitter page that I would not be dealing with Google, anything Google. There is now only one page of search results, if that. So what they've been doing is, what Google's been doing is they've been taking, without us giving them any type of notification, what they've been doing is they've been going and they've been taking down all the search results to try to make us look like we're an illegitimate label. They have been trying to devalue our label on purpose. And when you go in, there should be at least 10 pages. Another thing, when you go in to try to search, and we were going in to try to search for the sales results, we were unable to find any of the sales results. Like, for instance, the moment anything about you is released to the open public, it comes up right in a Google search and it's made public. Case in point, if you went in and said MINDFREAK Recordings and you want to know digital retail stores MINDFREAK Recordings Music and Film Works is in, you go into Google, you put that in, then it'll come up, it'll say iTunes, it'll say Amazon, it'll say Juno, it'll say MediaNet. This is what it should say, but it's not saying that. They're taking and they're withholding the sales results online, so we couldn't find the stores, and they're deleting it. And then after we opt out, and it's in the letter here, so I'm gonna get back to reading the complaint. We have, as soon as we opt out of the stores and they pressure us out of our distribution, then the results come up online. So let's continue to read. Let's see. We have had issues with SoundCloud. We have had a song go missing, several of them, from our page, and their support did not respond. When I reported other labels using our name, they did not reply, but requested formal trademark registration in order to act. Despite our being registered for 3 years, we also have our SoundCloud playlist order randomly change. Now, this is what I want to say about this. Once you establish a label, it is legally trademarked. SoundCloud knew good and well that we were the original MINDFREAK Recordings Music and Film Works, and you can tell. Not only is SoundCloud have our wedge player hooked up, and they're getting money off of copyrighted and derived copyrighted work through a service called One Playlist. It's connected via YouTube, and Google is stealing this money. But now keep in mind, the next report that I wrote, and the complaint that I wrote, you will see exactly what I'm talking about, and you will see what I'm saying about them. Let's see. We have had issues with SoundCloud. We have had songs go missing from our page. Their support did not help. When I reported other labels, rogue labels using our name, MINDFREAK Records, they did not reply, but requested formal trademark registration in order to act. And I did already read this. Despite our being registered for 3 years, we also seen our SoundCloud playlist order randomly changed. They even mess with the counter and the resend button, so we can't see who's resending our music out. This is stuff that Google is doing. Now, most recently, we learned about 5 months ago, and this was written, you guys, about almost 11 months ago. So at the beginning of 2015, we learned about 5 months ago that our SoundCloud player was being used on a pay-for-play site, One Playlist, and we were not informed. They were collecting royalties based on our work. I emailed them and have those emails. They specifically were hosting tracks that we had not yet submitted to the Copyright Office, but they were derived works from the original works, which makes them legally copyrighted. Others were fresh new music that they were not supposed to be giving out. Let's see. We had not yet submitted to the Copyright Office and remixes of our earlier albums, which are considered derived work and copyrighted. There was a confrontation on Twitter in December of 2013 with One Playlist. 5 months after sending the emails, One Playlist disappeared at this time from internet search results. Now, this is what I'm going to say. Anytime we would find stores online that were selling our music, Google would get wind of it, and they would go right in and they would delete the information offline. Isn't that interesting? Very interesting. Most recently, back to the complaint, excuse me. Most recently, I have had to reinstall the Twitter app on my phone 8 times when I was blocked. Google banners from my Twitter cell phone, they repeatedly show up to try to force me to download basically the original Twitter app. I've been in contact with the Seattle and Kirkland Police Department with a detective, Deb Brown of the Seattle PD, who suddenly stopped contacting me after inquiring about Google and MySpace and YouTube. Kirkland Police Department unfortunately hung up on me 5 times. I also contacted Lieutenant Murray of the Kirkland PD to file a complaint about Jeanette, who had been following me and mentioned Google, and they would not allow me to file a police report. Now, see, that was last year in 2014. So now we're going to update, as I'm reading to you guys. Here is the second report that I filed July 30th of this year. So here we go. Current FBI complaint update from IC3 submitted January 7, 2015. Now being submitted for IRP for review on Google July 30th, 2015. January 7th of 2015, I submitted a federal complaint on Google via IC3 for internet crimes against my record label MINDFREAK Recordings, Music, and Filmworks. Now I am submitting this complaint to the IRP website as of last week, July 30th. Attached is the old complaint file to this current update, which is, you guys, to stop for a minute, which is what I read to you guys. Recently, there was a telecast live on cable and radio via KXP. Remember, I told you guys this at the beginning of this recording. A local radio station here in Seattle that was aired about Google stealing from Northwest artists. For stealing from, excuse me, about Google stealing from Northwest up and coming artists and indie labels. There were 20 victims. I had stated in my IC3 report to the FBI this same pattern of behavior by Google was happening to us now for 5 years. Now Google is doing this to other labels and artists such as royalty stolen, artists ran off from the indie labels, agents showing up that Google sends, information taken down offline such as store info, all of it in our case, suppressing store locations, blocking copyright, or altogether taking the artist's songs and filing copyright for themselves, also blocking them from websites that Google has purchased and stealing the music that way. They're also filing copyright on other people's music. Now, this is something that when the telecast on KXP came up, these 20 artists and labels were talking about how Google was filing copyright on their music and they're putting it in Google Play. I also believe that they are bribing the distributors and music websites such as such as SoundCloud. In my case, it was Bandcamp, Songcast Music, and Labelworks. I am not sure that these artists or labels that this is being done to are aware of this. In our case, we contacted SoundCloud about copyright issues last April 2015 of a song stolen called Fender Fantasy, or rather a copyright issue last April 2014, a song stolen called Fender Fantasy. No reply. Then as of this April 2015, I tried filling out their SoundCloud's copyright infringement form. When I tried to put the track names in that are being pirated through my wedge player via SoundCloud, we tried to submit the form. It was rejected several times. The music is being sold via YouTube, SoundCloud, via one playlist. We have emails to prove this. Now, I made a typo, and I know I submitted this with this typo. But, okay, so the whole thing is that SoundCloud has this thing where you can go in, it's this form, and it's a copyright form. And so when we tried to put in the names of the songs and the tracks, and tried to submit the form several times, it refused and blocked us. Now, legally speaking, when you send a copyright letter form to SoundCloud, they have to reply to that, and SoundCloud is refusing to do that, which they are knowingly breaking the law. There are also safe harbor laws. You are not supposed to reveal any financial income or anything of anybody's whatsoever. So let's get back to this. We also, last April 2014, called the Copyright Office and emailed a DGAR on Google filing a possible copyright on the track. We got no response. I also stated that in my original IC3 report about Labelworks, we made more than a few $1,000s, and we banked in on our albums. Our albums were being sold from $9 up to $16 worldwide. We knew Google had bribed them. Now we have proof. As of July 2015, we received in our private email account, not used or given to Labelworks during our distribution with them, and they were sending us, Labelworks, harassing emails to put in our face that they had brokered a deal with YouTube. and they were boasting about it. To date, Labelworks and Google are still pirating our music, our label's music. We are still finding stores, but as soon as we do, Google will delete them to cover it up. Labelworks did, however, sign a waiver with our lawyers, our old lawyers at Garby, Schubert and Bear, Claire Hawkins and John Cressetto. Labelworks stated that there were no album sales of Planet Seattle or Electric Dreams Part 1 EP. We also have a licensing agreement that is through Labelworks label Alter Ego Records being used by Google. The labels and the artists that Google is stealing from, their music is being sold through Google's copycat startup record labels named after ours, MINDFREAK Records. We are MINDFREAK Recordings. Theirs are in Mexico and Brazil and in Tunisia, called MINDFREAK Records. And the music is also being placed in Google Play's catalog as stated on the KXP telecast on Google. We have our own digital distribution service, which we started after Labelworks because it was clear that distributors weren't safe. Then Google shows up in one of our stores. We never revealed MediaNet here in Seattle. We have the emails. If Ultra Hosting didn't give them to Google, as they showed up there in Ultra Web Hosting in late 2013, early 2014. Dan Charlson of MediaNet gave us a contract through MediaNet last September. We would exchange emails on Google, and he said you are fine. They are not here in MediaNet, not since 2010, when they took their catalog out and started their own music store. Then around December 2014, Dan began to ignore phone calls, emails. I contacted him because Labelworks through MediaNet was still pirating our music, and there was no reply in December 2014 or January, or rather December 2014 or January 2015. I don't know how I could have got these dates you guys all mixed up. They probably think we're crazy, but I did proofread it before I submitted it. In February 2015, we confronted Dan in an email about Google Play being in MediaNet, as they were mentioned in a job ad for MediaNet. I applied for the royalty sales statement assistant. We got no reply from Dan in May of 2015. I contacted MediaNet HR with no reply about Dan. He is sitting on our album Planet Seattle and refuses to release it until we comply with giving Google half of our royalties. He brokered a deal with them of a sales cap. With Google, like Labelworks, and once we caught him lying, he shut down. It's been 6 months, and we are through 1 year of a 2-year contract with MediaNet, and we did all of our coding and metadata. Once that was done in February, we were to set up an account. No reply. We were supposed to have access to be able to upload. So I'm going to stop right here, and I'm going to tell you a few other things, if it will come to mind. Anytime we have been in particular websites, Google shows up there. They were not in SoundCloud via 2012, yet when we got there, they showed up. I'm really not understanding why SoundCloud is having anything to do with Google Play. Basically because they're a free streaming service, and they're not supposed to be selling anybody's music. And why would you have a competitor up in your service? Our Ultra email account has also been compromised. We pay for that account. Shortly after we got on with Ultra Web Hosting, Google subsequently showed up in there. We were with this one website, it was called called AM2IM, which is an American independent music group, and you sign up with them, and basically what it is this conglomerate of all of these. They work in the industry and they work with independent labels, and you do a membership and you sit on this board and you make these decisions. Here comes Google came in about 8 weeks after we showed up in that website. Every they sit in our Twitter page, they monitor our Twitter page. We had problems with, we had to block from 2013 all the way up to 2014. Google was coming in with their Twitter pages, Google Facts, no Google Glass, Google Knowledge Base, Google Play, and they, anytime we would talk about them, they would come in. Anytime we would talk about MySpace, dummy Justin Lake pages would come in, and I had to repeatedly block them. Bill Gates pages, because I busted him out. I did a show last year with Will P. Wilson. It's called All Day Live with Will P. Wilson, and it's on the public access channel. And in October of 2014, I did a show, and I was talking about what Google was doing. And this was way before this show and telecast on KXP. So let me continue to read. This is kind of long. We are also on Juno, and Juno Download is another one of our stores. Will not reply to emails. Either this is how we know Google is around. People stop replying to us. We also have an update on our licensing through Getty Images. We contacted them about our contract from 2012 and why we were not updated. Getty Images were very nice, and we were working things out. I explained the issues with Google, and Getty Images lawyer by the name of Heather stated that they are now having lots of problems with Google as well. We also found out from Getty Images that our email was switched from MindFreak Recordings at Hotmail to MindFreak Recordings at Gmail. We also used Hotmail on SoundCloud always since 2010. Bionic Bounce at Hotmail was the first. Use then mindfreakrecordings.com on SoundCloud. Most recently, I moved cell phone carriers from Boost to T-Mobile because of the harassment, the wiretapping Google was doing on Boost, and the issues with the cell phone apps. The fact Google keeps locking me out of my apps such as DIFM and Google Play. So I switched cell phone carriers switched cell phone carriers. Within 10 days, the wiring tapped again on my T-Mobile cell phone. The same sounds I heard on Boost. Clicks, beeps. I have witnesses that could hear the noise. When I contacted the FBI by phone this year, it was doing the same thing. I spoke to the FBI lady on my Boost cell phone in January 2015. It was doing it when she was on the phone, and the clicks and the beeps when I contacted the FBI office, you guys. I have been in contact repeatedly with T-Mobile about Google since June 25th, 2015 till now. As of the end of June 26, 2015, I uploaded unreleased music from MindFreak Recordings Music and Film Work to my cell phone, not yet copyrighted. The files from the cell phone disappeared. I am now going, the last week in July, to submit a written complaint to the FCC on Google, as my cell phone is a separate issue. The FCC encouraged us to do so, and I have yet to do this. So, in all, what I'm saying is, we've taken so many measures. The Illuminati is real. And to date, we had artists on the label. We had Jarrett Brown that was going to sign. We had Anthony, who was Soulcraft. And then what they did to Jackie Ortiz, the moment we got on with Lynx Records in 2013, 3 weeks later, this woman showed up with the last name Moses, and she surrounded Jackie, took a hold of Jackie, convinced Jackie not to sign with our label. When I confronted the girlfriend in January of this year, and me and Jackie had gotten into a confrontation about it, actually, X that slash that, it was January 2014. I found it quite ironic that if somebody is chewing your girlfriend out, most women or men will defend their girlfriend. What this woman did that came up into Jackie, she acted like me. This woman acted like me, was mimicking me, you know, had a Jewish last name, trying to play like she's Jewish, took over everything over Jackie, and even married her. And she vouched out because this girl, 3 weeks after we signed with Lynx Records, this woman showed up, and then Jackie didn't want to sign. And this is what I was telling you in this report that the other labels and artists were saying on KEXP June 30th of 2015. This is what Google was doing to them. And they deliberately ran Jackie off on purpose. They tried surrounding me. I live in a new house. They tried hooking something up, a listening device. They had these people that were following me in a camper. I move into this house. The people show up down the street. I had to contact the Seattle PD. The Seattle PD asked them to move their camper. And this is what they do. This is all they do. They have people showing up with all-seeing signs. They tried assigning handlers. They've tried isolating me. They consume all of my personal relationships. They come up and damage all of my personal relationships. This is what Google does. They are strong-arming. They are bullying. And finally, they got their way with Vivo. And the thing about Vivo is what I read in the letter about the subscriptions and the contracts and what they're doing with indie labels. They locked us out a whole year before they decide to strong arm the other indie labels into signing their contract with Vivo. So they had this already planned. Look, if you get on YouTube right now, to date, we have not been able to have access to our YouTube account. And what is so funny is they started at one of the rogue labels and they exaggerated the counts on the video. They released the video under MINDFREAK Records on YouTube last year, and supposedly this person has 39,000 views, but they hardly have any followers. So when that didn't work, they opened one up in Brazil about 5 months after that, and we discovered it and told our old attorneys. Then subsequently this year, they started up another one in Tunisia, and again, they put this video up, and they're sitting here plagiarizing, and what's funny is the guy's never been released. The website is totally, completely false, made up. He has 9 followers, but strangely enough, 27,000 views on one video, but no followers. Then he has these 4 records that say MINDFREAK. They have no title, and yet one of them is a DJ set, and it's remixes of other people's music. For one, that guy can't even release that. That's how I know it's a lie, because it's other people's copyrighted work from other record labels, and he would have to have their permission. So if you have any comments, I'm going to shut this video off because it's been probably about 45 minutes. And I want to know what your thoughts are about this. And I hope that you can follow. And I will answer any questions that you have. Just please let me know. Thank you guys so much for your support. And again, any questions, any ideas, let me know. Shalom.